And I started thinking, I was like, wow, we've done this wrong for so long. So listen, I'm going to show you my ultimate BICHIR setup. I'm telling you, this setup that I've accidentally ran across with my BICHIRs is something that if you are into BICHIRs, you might, I'm not even saying you might, you definitely going to want to get in on this. BICHIR, stay to the end of this video. I'm going to go into just a little bit of a rant. Just a little bit, not a whole lot. I mean, I don't even think it's a rant. I think it's just me telling my mind, but I don't really see how it's a rant. I can see how some of you guys may think it's a rant, but it's just something I gotta get off my chest. I gotta let it out. I gotta let it out. Alright, so let me set the stage. So, this tank behind me that you see is a deep substrate planted tank. And if you guys remember, and I'm going to tell you why this has to do with BICHIRs or BASHIRs or bikers. At the end of the video, I talks about that. But anyway, let's get into this, why I think a lot of people do the BICHIRs wrong. I'm going to tell you, and please watch the end of the video because I do have some disclaimers because I'm being very judgmental right now, but I don't mean to be. You guys want to do the best for your fish, right? I know I do. And this fish is very, very tolerant of a lot of different scenarios as far as how you keep them. And to be honest with you, as long as you give them the right foods, I'm going to get into all this, the right foods and the right water parameters and enough space, they will live long and healthy lives. But I want to take it a step further. I want to talk about natural lives, the lives, how they react and how they act in the wild. We want to try and recreate that also, right? And in this particular case, with this particular fish, you actually have the best of two worlds. Let me explain to you. So this tank behind me, it was actually where I was doing my Jack Dempsey breeding project, where I had my electric blue Jack Dempsey and my pink Jack Dempsey breed. Well, they weren't too good at it, so I split them up because she was whooping his butt pretty bad. While I was moving stuff, which I am still moving stuff, it's just taking time because I got to do it by myself. I went ahead and pulled these BICHIRs out, this 3 Delhizzy BICHIRs, from my Cribbo Heroes Pusingai tank, because that's the one that's going to be moved, and then because it's going to take so much time, I don't want to keep them in buckets or small aquariums, so I went ahead and put them in here, being that the Jack Dempsey was all by his lonesome. When I put them in here, I noticed a huge change in personality, behavior, all that, and I couldn't help but just stare in amazement. And listen, I always say the practice of observing my fish tank is really what brings me to the hobby. Just watching them and noticing the changes on how they react in different situations and different scenarios. So doing more research on this dude, the Delhizzy BICHIR. Amazonas. I started looking at Delhizzy BICHIRs in the wild, and there's something that kept popping up. It was painfully obvious what I was doing wrong in providing the most natural habitat for them. There was a phrase. There was 2 phrases, but they mean the same thing. Densely planted or heavily planted. Planted. It just kept coming up over and over and over again. And I started thinking that's what the big change was the plants. In the wild, the Delhizzy BICHIR, which can grow upwards of in between 16 and 18 inches, live in shallow waters. Now, it doesn't really tell you how shallow is shallow. So I'm thinking for a fish that's about 18 inches, 2 feet, yeah, that's pretty shallow, right? They hang out in the reeds and the heavy planted, densely thick planted vegetation. Their slim bodies helps them get through all this really well. And the fact that they're not primarily an eyesight type predator, they don't use their eyes as much as their nose, that they don't really need to see too far ahead of them, seeing as how they're using their smell more than anything else. So I put them in here and I noticed all kinds of cool stuff. I noticed more activity. I noticed they would hang out in different places. I noticed they were way more curious in their environment, which obviously most people keep Delhizzy BICHIRs with aggressive to semi-aggressive cichlids, and a lot of people keep them in open tanks. Well, because these plants grow all the way up to the top, and listen, I have seen Delhaize BICHIRs or other BICHIRs swim across the middle of the water column, but I noticed it way more in this tank. And I attribute that to the fact that these plants grow all the way to the top, and they provide a whole lot of cover from, in a while, what would be predators. So they feel a little bit more comfortable with that low light situation. This is why I said you get a twofer with this fish. If you get this fish and you really want to provide a proper living conditions for this, if you really want to get this fish and you really want to provide the proper living conditions for this fish, not only do you have a monster fish, and when I say monster, I truly mean that it is been around since prehistoric days. But not only do you get your monster fish, but if you've ever wanted to do a planted tank, now is the time to do it. This fish is not very, it doesn't breed in captivity all that much or all that well. Well, maybe it's because of the way we're keeping them. These fish want plants. They want foliage. They want greenery. So hook them up. Give them what they want. And you can have fun doing it too. That's the right way to do it. And I'm not saying you are doing it the wrong way. I am not judgmental over how people keep their aquariums. Not at all. I know the thumbnail says wrong. Most people who keep this fish will fall in love with it. And keeping them the normal way, they will live. They will survive. They will grow. They will be healthy. But if you really want to do right by them, if you really, really want to go all out, then go ahead and provide the plants, because that's what they really, really want. Here's a portion of this video where I do a little rant. I wouldn't call it a rant. I'm just speaking what's on my mind. It just happens to come out as a rant. And I don't want it to be that way at all. But I have to explain my channel to some people. I talked to a gentleman about a week ago, and he was telling me his thoughts on my channel. And in the discussion, I happened to mention my BICHIRs, and he corrected me and said BICHIRs, and went on to tell me how if I'm gonna be on here teaching people, let's teach them right. Let's not purposely teach them the wrong way. I get his point. I really do. But I have to explain my channel, and I have to explain me, and I have to explain my attitude towards people who get caught up over the little things, like whether I call them BICHIRs or BICHIRs or BASHIRs. At the end of the day, you still know what I'm talking about. Everybody has different accents. Everybody has different pronunciations. Granted, somebody who founded these had their intentions of what it was going to be called. And if I really, really, really want to be accurate, I'll try and find that. Which, by the way, my own ears have never heard them called a specific name by the person who came up with them, or any person who is a scientist. Everyone I've ever, you can ask 100 people, they give different answers. I've heard doctors and ichthyologists call it BICHIRs, BICHIRs, and BASHIRs. Who's right? Doesn't matter to me. What matters to me is that people are taking care of their BICHIRs, BICHIRs, BASHIRs, and they're happy and successful, and they're eager to do better by them. That's what's important to me. And sometimes people can get turned off by small things like being corrected over the name of stuff. It's just silly to me. And the people who watch my channel, they're new to the hobby anyway, right? In my opinion. I don't know for sure on everybody's skill level who watch these videos. I'm hoping that they watch these videos because they want to learn something. And yeah, I could spend an entire hour explaining every scientific term and losing the point of the video, how to take care of them. If I'm spending an hour trying to explain all the processes and the scientific names and all these things, I lose the point of the video, which is how to take care of them properly. In my opinion, I feel that if we can, as educators, can get people to even start and be successful, that they will want to learn for themselves. All right? I'm just one rung in the ladder of their hobby. I'm just the first rung of the ladder in their hobby. All right? That's what Aquafunk is. Just a rung in the ladder. So I don't feel bad over what I call them. I call them BICHIRS. When they first came out, when I first found these guys back in 2000, when I say found them, when I first saw them for the first time in 2000s, the listing did not say BICHIRS, bikers, bikes. They didn't say none of that. The listing on the order form said polypterus. But because I didn't even know how to say that properly, I just went ahead and called them polypterus. Does that change the fact that these are awesome fish? But does it change any of that? No, it doesn't. Hopefully somebody who watched this video wanting to know the right way that these guys want to live, do that, become a fanatic about this fish, and they go ahead and learn the proper pronunciation. But for my part in this whole story, I just want them to be happy and successful. That's Aquafunk. First off, I'd like to thank you for sticking around to the end and watching the whole entire video. Please, if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button, notification bell, and the like. The algorithm gods really like, and I'd be able to get my information put out to more people who could use this type of information. And if you enjoyed this content, if you got any type of value out of it, these are a couple other videos right here that I think you might be interested in. I'm not a good winker.